spotless podcast, where cleanliness is always next to podliness. Now, here are your hosts, Hannah Brooks Olson and Andrew Walsh.
I have been receiving questions about my beverage options because I always have a lot of beverages happening during this pod. So I would like to just, at the top of the show, say we have a Diet Dr. Pepper today, DDP, classic. And then we also have this beverage, which I found. It's called Splash.
Rocket Freeze?
Yeah, it's in Rocket Pop flavor, you know, like the red, white, blue popsicle flavor. So,
sure.
And this, it is sparkling water, but it also has a little bit of electrolytes in it. So,
okay.
But I recently, you know how you've been with someone for forever and then you learn something new about them?
Yes, it's fun.
It's very fun. So I learned at one point that Keith and I drink a lot of like liquid IV or like, you know, electrolyte beverages in our house because we drink a lot of alcohol, frankly. And, but also because we're both in the gym a lot. And so whenever we decide on which flavors we're going to get, like we kind of want one that everybody likes, and sometimes we'll try a flavor. And so they have a Rocket Pop flavor that we had never seen before. And I think they had it at Costco maybe. And Keith was like, hell yeah. Like that sounds great. And I was like, does it? Mm-hmm. Okay. Like never in a million years would I have picked this flavor. And then he was like, yeah, that's my new favorite liquid IV. I love it. So when I saw this soda in the same flavor, I was like, oh, like we'll give this a go. And I can always tell whether or not he actually likes the different like beverages I bring into the house by whether or not they get moved through, you know? Mm-hmm. And we ran out of them so fast, immediately. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay. And now I know
he doesn't seem like the type of person who would like lean towards. I know that this is just sparkling water, so it's never going to be an overwhelming flavor. But you think of like Rocket Pop as like that's going to be a big, bold, sugary flavor, generally speaking, out in the world. And Keith doesn't present himself as a big sugary guy.
No, I mean
he's a sweetie.
He is.
Don't get me wrong.
He does. I mean, he can. That man can eat his way through a pan of brownies, but
yeah.
But he does like things that are quite simple usually. And we were standing around kind of like, what even is the flavor of a Rocket Pop? And like, if you don't live in the States or you don't know what this is, I don't know what else people call them, but they're the red and white and blue, like single popsicles, like fruit pops. But I was like, I genuinely don't actually know what those flavors are.
I think there's 3 different flavors, right? I think it's cherry.
Yep.
And then what is the white one, though? Because I think blue is blueberry, and white is my favorite, but I don't know what it is.
I think it's lemon. I think it's just like lemon.
Oh, that's fun.
And then it's blue raspberry, I think.
Oh, that makes more sense.
It's a great flavor profile. So those are today's beverages.
Okay, first of all, I love this new idea. I think we should do a check-in on that. Okay, unfortunately, though, you may have just literally sidelined the show. I said, like, I want to get to these voicemails so quick today because they're so good. And now I've got reactions to 5 different things that you just said, and I need about 29 minutes to get through all of this. First of all, the Rocket Pop flavor reminds me of something that I'm going through in my life right now, which is I am going to this new-ish grocery store near my house called SARS Super Saver. They try to lean on the Super Saver aspect of it. I call it SARS, SAARS. Have we not had this conversation yet?
No, and this just, I immediately, flash back to the halcyon days of where SARS was taking over Western Asia, and everyone in America was like, oh my God, they just all wear masks everywhere? Who would do that? Like, it was like shocking. And then also the fact that there is a Kanye West lyric from from the workout song. This is way back Kanye.
Yeah.
Way back. Cover your mouth up like you got SARS.
That guy was such a good lyricist. I am so sad that we lost him to mental illness and possible evil.
Yeah.
So this is obviously like a budget grocery store type of deal, and they took over this place that has been a long-standing, and I think like in the past celebrated grocery store area up here in the North Aurora area. It used to be
it was the Asian
food market. It was just Oak Tree.
Yeah.
It was Oak Tree, and then before it was Oak Tree, it was like somebody's name. Longtime Seattleites know it by its original name, and it was Beloved Market. But that was sold. It was turned into Oak Tree, and then Oak Tree. And it was good because it was a big space, and it had all kinds of different foods from around the world. But by the time I moved to the neighborhood, it was just so bombed out. They had no heat on. It was dirty. It was awful. It was closed down for like years, and Genevieve was constantly checking to see what kind of grocery store was going to take it over. She was very excited to see that it was something called SARS Super Saver, which I'd never heard of before. I've always been loyal to H1N1 groceries. But anyway, I had never heard of SARS before. But now I am in love with this place. So first of all, it's the first grocery store in this area that is close enough to walk to, and it's very walkable. It's like a few blocks. I love being able to walk to the grocery store.
Wait, is this the backpack place though?
Yes, this is the backpack place.
Okay.
So we did talk about
we
that.
Did talk about that.
I was wearing a backpack in there to go grocery shopping so I could carry them out, but the security guard wouldn't let me carry a backpack in there because these stores are always put up in areas where there's probably high theft or the suspicion of high theft. I balked at that. I got into some fights with the security guard, not physical, but close. And then a listener sent to me a tiny little backpack that I can hold in my hand. It's like a camping backpack that's very, very small. It balls up to about this big. But then you can fill it with tons of stuff and use it as a backpack. So I no longer have that issue anymore with them thinking that I'm some sort of a burglar or something.
So eat it, security guard.
Yeah, it always irritated me.
Well,
and also they have a nicer security guard now.
Oh, that's good. Did you take a letter and then you got a nicer security guard out of the deal?
Did I write in? Do you mean? No, I did not. That's what we talked about. Maybe. I mean, I think well, listen, we don't have to get into the whole thing. I think I had heard some stories from some people who work there that they're not doing super well financially already, and it's only been there less than a year. So my guess is they kind of trim back on how often a security guard is even there, and now they have one only at certain times. It's just and the guy that they have now, he's wearing a uniform, but he's not all. First of all, he's not white and wearing full tactical gear. You know that whole thing?
The tacked out security guard is it's very off-putting.
Yes.
If I
and this
have
guy
to walk
seems
by
much more
a dude who looks like he will tase me for looking at him the right way.
Yeah.
I don't love to go to that establishment.
Yes, and this guy had like that vest on or whatever, and I just it gave me the
vest
wrong
grab?
feeling. I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know if my guy did that or not, but anyway, he's not there anymore. Now there's kind of just a friendly guy who smiles when you walk in. I'm way off track here. I just wanted to set up kind of my experience of SARS. I really like this place. They're keeping it very pristine in there. You can get did I tell you this? You can get whole goats in the back. They have whole goats you can get.
So they're sticking to that huge. Pan pan cuisine type of place.
Absolutely. It's cool. Like a focus on kind of like American branded stuff that I'm kind of used to, and then there's a huge Latin part of it. You can get sacks of rice, and then there's a huge Asian part of this, and then a lot of halal meats and so it's like a kind cool. of it's like a world market that is like really affordable. It's also in a part of town where people like to drink outside. And so one thing that I've noticed is they are really well stocked in what I like to call fun beverages, that even though I know I have better liquor at home that I can mix with better ingredients, when I'm in there, I want to buy. They have all kinds of high-powered wines and various stuff. And they have some sort of juice-looking stuff that has alcohol in it that is, what do you call those? Rocket Pop. Oh. And I saw that and I wanted to buy it so bad. You know what else they sell? Cups of ice. They have bags of ice if you're going to a picnic or whatever and you need to fill up your cooler. On the top shelf of the freezer, though, you can get a plastic cup. You can get a bag of ice for $2. For $1.29, you can get a plastic cup with a few ice cubes in it because people are going in there and buying beverages.
That's
and they
poverty
just
math,
Yeah, right?
I, first of all, love this. Second, it makes sense to me that they would have a lot of those high octane beverages because technically you're outside of the urban impact zone. And if you're getting a bus from downtown, because you can't buy malt liquor in downtown Seattle.
Oh, you can't?
No, you can't buy high octane, or you couldn't when I lived there anyway. I doubt anyone has bothered to repeal that ass backwards law. But yeah, in the urban impact zone, which is the downtown core, basically, they can't sell high octane malt liquor. And I know this because when I first moved to Seattle in 2009, I had $3 in change and I was going to go buy a steel reserve because what else was I going to do?
Yeah.
And I went in and I was like, y'all do not have 40s. You can't sell 40s here. And they were like, no, we cannot sell 40s here. But once you get up outside of downtown, you can. So if someone's coming on a bus from outside of downtown, they get off at that bus stop by your area. A world of wonder awaits.
I need to look into this, though, because now I've been describing it, and of course you would assume I'm talking about like 40s and that kind of stuff. But to be honest with you,
just big cans.
I'm not even 100% sure that they do have 40s there either, or even like so what they have, and the kind of stuff I'm talking about is technically malt beverages.
Yes.
And this is what I'm getting. I've been talking about this on TBTL. I have developed a bad habit. I've only done it twice so far, but my new thing is doing a little bit of shopping and grabbing a twisted tea on the way out and drinking a twisted tea on my walk home. It is...
Listen,
it is thrilling.
The world
I am leaning into Aurora so hard.
Yes, I mean you are now a part of that community. The world is in a shambles.
Yes.
Have a freaking twisted tea.
It is, and they come in 24 ounces, so they're those huge double cans. It's the only way you can get it. And I went to grab one the other day, and I was trying to make sure I didn't get a peach one or one of the flavored ones. So I grabbed one that was just the blue and yellow, and I had it in my hand. Then all of a sudden I realized it didn't say original; it said extreme, and it was like 8% alcohol instead of 5%.
Oh,
so I was like, I
Lord.
put that one back. So I don't know if they have like the classic kind of malt like 40s, but they have a lot of those beverages that are sweet things that are made from like malt, you know.
Okay, I swear this is a cleaning podcast and not just an Andrew and Hannah have a drinking problem podcast. But
I know.
do you like we were so harmed by the banning of real Four Loko. I was so mad about that because
I never had it.
Oh, I was the right age. I mean, I was like 21 and I was drinking Sparks and Four Loko because it had caffeine, like, no or low sugar, and then like
probably helped with your ADHD. You were probably just like studying with
I was
Four
on
Loko.
fire on Four Loko.
Yes.
And then they were like, no, it's dangerous. And I was like,
yeah.
Okay. Like, I feel like that was one of the first moments because I think I was working at KUOW in the radio when that happened, when they first were like talking about banning like caffeinated alcohol beverages like that. Like they were such a huge like risk to children. And all I could think was about all of the other things that you still could buy that seemed a lot riskier. Like Mad Dog 2020 wasn't going away. That's still fine. Mm-hmm. And now I feel like we've brought a ton of that back because things like Twisted Tea and everything, it's like, it's basically this 8% Twisted Tea. What is that if not a Four Loko? Yeah.
Although I don't know about, it's got tons of sugar in it. I'm more concerned about, by the way, I did not buy the 8% one. I bought the 5% one like a gentleman. But I'm more concerned, honestly, at age 48 or whatever I am, and the body that I'm dragging around, I'm more concerned about the sugar content in that than the alcohol content.
The diabetes.
It is so packed with sugar. Okay.
I feel like that's the worst part of it. I will say it. So this is the last part of this, and then I recommended something, and you said you bought it, so I want to hear about this. I don't think it was alcohol related,
no.
But I did see a lady the other day, just like a lady like my age, outside walking her clearly, dog pound dog, like just rescued from wherever. And as she was walking, she had her big cans on. She was like, listen to her podcast. 2:00 in the afternoon, and she's got a can of wine, like of the pink Underwood.
Yeah,
and
I know what you're talking about.
Immediately was just like, this woman is living life. Like she is doing exactly what she wants to do today.
Is this right in your little neighborhood too? Like
I was actually in a different neighborhood. I was in a different neighborhood, and I was I was delighted by it.
Because I could see you guys passing each other and just like cheersing as you walk your dogs and pass each other in the street.
I think generally speaking in Portland, we have really reached the point where like open container laws are meaningless.
Yeah.
Like it's if the police are not going to bust up the circles of drag racers that race up and down major streets and shut down corners and people literally lose their lives, if they're not going to shut that down, they can pry my open container out of my cold dead hands.
We don't have time to get into it. But I came home we're recording this the day after the 4th of July, and I came home late last night, late-ish, from just a pretty tame get-together with some friends. Very, very wonderful evening. But then Genevieve went to bed because she had an early flight, and they were blowing off fireworks in one of the like kind of traffic circles like 2 blocks away from me. So I went out and I stood in the middle of my street around 12:30 at night, smoked a full joint, drank a can of beer, Tecate or something like that, and watched like as I saw the far away silhouetted figures of somebody running out to a traffic circle. The longer they were bent over in the traffic circle, the better the fireworks were going to be afterwards, which I know this is probably triggering to people with pets, and my apologies for that. I was not lighting them off, but if they're being lit off around me, I'm not going to pretend that I hate them for just, what do you call it? Virtue signaling.
And people wonder what people without children do all day. Yeah, we drink in public and we watch other people do fireworks.
It was so wonderful. And I don't know who these people were. Like, some car did come and do a spin out around them and then went screaming back towards Aurora. I'm just like, I don't know what this is, but I kind of love where I live right now. My other point, which I don't know if we need to get into, I know we don't need to get into this, but I hate the name Liquid IV. I just think it's...
Oh, I know.
IVs are already liquid, and the thing about an IV is that it's intravenous, right?
Well, they couldn't call it no needle IV, so they had to come up with something else.
Yes, but that would make more sense.
Now with fewer
right?
needles, yeah.
IV, now with fewer needles. All right, none of that. How long did we just go there? 15 minutes. We haven't even mentioned cleaning or cleaning products yet. Hannah,
we're going
we
to
do
now.
have a great show coming up. By the way, some voicemails from some more folks who want to weigh in on wonderful things that they found on the side of the road. We did a show on that a couple of weeks ago, and we got a couple of stragglers coming in with some really, really good stories I cannot wait to tell you about.
I love this topic.
Also, a follow-up on the person who had or I guess I should say, witnessed a disaster as a young boy as a dog shook tomato juice all over a white couch. We have a follow-up to that story. But first, you recommended something to me for my olfactory needs a while back. I had bought an air freshener that was one of those generic Glade plug-in air fresheners that smells like, I don't know, any kind of hotel lobby, or like it smelled like fresh linen. But you suggested I get one from Grove, which is a different kind of plug-in air freshener called EnviroScent, I believe is the brand. Can you back me up on that?
Yes, I believe that is what it's called.
And it is a plug-in one, but you're like, it doesn't have that generic smell, and it might not be as overwhelming, or at least that's what I took to be sort of the sales pitch on this. And also, the scent was better than just like linen or sky or something. What scent did you get? Do you remember?
Mine is the peony
and wildflowers.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, that's what I got as well, and I'm holding it right here. I will say, so first of all, form factor, way better.
Yes.
Those Glade things are huge. They look like one of those Wi-Fi repeaters in your house if your Wi-Fi isn't strong enough.
Like a whole nightlight, yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. And then it's got this big glass container with liquid in it. These things use these little waxy pucks that provide the smell, and you plug it into the wall and sort of... But I am shocked at how strong this thing is.
They are a little strong. I think they lose scent. Not that quickly. I think I probably replaced mine I've only replaced it a couple times. They are fairly strong, but I don't find it overwhelming. And I find that if it's too strong in an enclosed space, you can always just like move it into the hallway, and then you still get the scent. How are you finding the scent?
I like it. It is like, I'm so bad at describing scent, but it doesn't, it's because of the peony smell to it. It's like, it's not quite as of a round scent, sort of. It's a little bit stingy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Does that make sense? But like, stingy obviously is a negative sounding word, but it's just sort of like, it's a little bit more, I don't know how to describe scent, but I am surprised at how strong it is. Now I put it up in this room that is a small room upstairs where Genevieve is. She calls it her craft room. I just call it her like messy room. It's like the raccoon room. But we also temporarily have a litter box up there for one of our sick cats. We usually only keep a litter box downstairs, very tucked away. But because of this because we thought our cat was dying months ago, we put a litter box for her upstairs. She luckily is still with us, but still like needs it up there. And so we're very concerned about the smell, right? I keep it very clean, but like we plug the Glade in up there, but if you leave it plugged in for too long, like the whole room becomes an overwhelming scent. So we would unplug it, and we tried EnviroScent up there too, and I had to unplug it after. It starts off very, very strong, and that is a small enclosed room, like you said. So I've now moved it downstairs to my basement bathroom, and the plug is right near where my door is. So it kind of provides a scent for this whole kind of basement area. Which it needs. It needs room to air out for sure. I was shocked at how strong it was.
It is pretty strong. They do a lot with not a lot. The nice thing is the little clip, like the plug part of it, you don't need to reorder over and over again. You can just order the puck, the scent puck, when you want. So the nice thing is you can like swap it out if there's something else you want. Yeah. It's just that little like waxy bit that comes back. So if it like when it starts to die down, you can just like get something else if you want. But yeah, they do. It packs a lot of scent. Yeah, that little guy.
I just noticed the little puck is a little white puck, but they somehow burned in peony and wildflower on it. Yeah. So that alone is like a selling point for me for the lack of plastic and glass that has to be involved when you replace one of those Glade ones. I couldn't believe the replacement itself has so much plastic and glass involved. And the EnviroSense also, it comes like in a bag, I think. It just comes like it doesn't come in plastic either, which is nice. Yeah, a paper bag that you can recycle, I believe.
But it is a much smaller footprint. But it does, it really does dissipate because it works like an oil warmer. Like that's the thing. You have it plugged in, so it warms it, and then it like creates this sort of like aura. But yeah, if you have it in like a bigger downstairs area, I feel like that's a nice way to sort of create a scent profile in that space. Like I wouldn't put it in a bathroom. That would be too small. You would be hit in the face.
Oh, yeah. See, mine is in my bathroom, but it's right by the bathroom door. So it's sort of like it has an escape mechanism. I'm going to go over. So I think I got wildflowers and peony because that was all they had in the moment. Or maybe they had two and there's the best sounding one. But I'm looking at Grove's website here where I got it. They have vanilla bean and pumpkin chai. Ooh. That's going to be more of a rounder scent.
Yeah.
Pineapple and coconut. Rainwater and bamboo. That might be the most tempting one for me out of this. I would try rainwater and bamboo. Honeycrisp, apple, and cardamom sounds way too sweet for me.
That's also very like holiday or fall scented.
Yeah. Spring water and lotus. I would try that, also out of stock. Lemon leaf and thyme and balsam fir and spruce. That would be a very specific smell, too. I could see around the holidays. But I definitely want to mess around with some more of the different scents. I'm not sure that peony and wildflowers is for me. I think that's
I feel like, I don't know that I think I actively said, like, the fragrance I get is peony, and I don't know if that's for you. It's a very, like, obviously gender is a construct, but it is a feminine smell. Like my office smells like a girl's office, like that is, which is what I wanted because I've never had my own office space before, so I was like, ooh, I want to sort of make it smell nice. And I love the peony fragrance, but I think it's definitely like, for you probably something a little more calm.
Yeah, something a little bit calmer or something. And that's why the idea of a coconutty smell sort of seems nice to me. But without any further ado, let's get into these voicemails. Before I play the first one, though, I want to let people know how they can reach us. You call the voicemail line. What do you call it? The spot line.
The spot line.
It's 508-HOW-WASH. That's 508-469-9274. 508-HOW-WASH. You can also send us a voice memo via email, spotlesspod@gmail.com. And we are on YouTube now. Hi, everybody. I'm waving to you. We're on YouTube now. Just look for Spotless Pod on YouTube, right? Not Spotless Podcast, Spotless Pod.
I think it's just Spot. I'm pretty sure if you search Spotless Pod, you'll find it. We don't quite have the SEO to own Spotless, just the word, I don't think.
Yeah.
On YouTube, but we will if more people, even if you never use YouTube, but like you have one, it's connected to your Google account, just like get in there, subscribe, even if we're the only thing you subscribe to. Pretty sure.
Keith.
Yeah, Keith.
Check it out once in a while. And Andrew.
If literally any of the men in my life could just like go look at the work I do, that'd be great.
Let's move on.
Clean as a whistle, fresh as a daisy, brand new, clean through. Start my day off wearing a great big smile.
All right, so as I think I sort of set up a little bit ago, we had a wonderful show a few weeks ago now where people were sending in some of their favorite things that they found along the side of a road. And we're going to get to those emails and follow-ups on that in just a second. But first, let's talk about messes. Hannah. Oh, yes. Wait, I was going to restart this. I was going to take a moment to restart because I started setting up a different segment of the show that I really wanted to get to something else first. And this is where I'd usually, if we weren't on your YouTube channel, we could just stop and restart at that music cue.
You're really giving a peek behind the curtain here.
I'm realizing now that I can't stop, so I just had to tell everybody I effed up. Forget about roadside fines for a second, everybody. I want to follow up to something we played on the last show, which was dedicated to disastrous messes. We had people calling in and emailing in with the biggest messes they've ever encountered in their life. Whether or not they were the ones who had to clean it up, it just didn't matter. Just we wanted to hear about the messes first, and we got some great calls on that, including one from listener Alex. And Alex was a child when the story happened. His family dog, whose name I want to say is Doc, although I could be wrong about that, ended up getting sprayed by a skunk. And so his dad went out in the backyard with a kiddie pool and a whole bunch of tomato juice. Or not clamato juice, but tomato juice. Because supposedly tomato juice, the acid in that is going to kind of cut the skunk smell?
I swear I learned about the idea of getting rid of a skunk smell specifically in a dog with tomato juice from the cartoon Rugrats. Because there was a Rugrats episode where Spike the dog got skunked, and that was one of the things they try. And I remember as a kid thinking that was bananas, but then my entire life I just carried through no, I think that's actually a thing.
Yeah, and apparently other people think it's a thing. I've never, luckily, had to deal with it. But this disaster story wasn't even about the dog getting sprayed by the skunk. It was that the dog is now covered in tomato juice. And then Alex, as a boy, leaves the door to the house open, and the dog goes running into the house covered in tomato juice and shakes himself dry up on the white, I want to say leather sofa, and just shoots tomato juice all over the house. I literally, I can only picture this in a movie. It is so disastrous. It sounds like something from Beethoven. The movie Beethoven or something. Maybe you said that last week, and I'm just stealing your thoughts. But incredible story, and you and I both had the same reaction. You especially, though, which was, why does this family with a dog and two young boys have white leather couches? That seemed like a dubious choice from your perspective.
I was skeptical, yes, of the idea of having, because Alex mentioned he and his brother. I was like, wait. So we now have a large dog and two boys in a home where getting skunked is a possibility because ostensibly you're somewhat rural or there's some sort of tree cover. And you have a white leather couch, question mark?
Yes. Alex has an answer to your question, and it's a pretty good answer.
We ended up with those white leather couches because my grandma wanted to buy my dad a gift, and she only shopped at the Sears outlet store. And so it was big, because it's 40th birthday present, from grandma. And she chose those couches and said, here you go. And my mom went, well, okay. And to everyone's surprise, the couches actually cleaned off fine. It was the walls that we had to repaint. And those couches actually came to me to college and lasted 4 years in a frat house before they were totally trashed and gone. So I guess it's just nobody wanted white couches, and so grandma at the Sears outlet got them. So that's the backstory on the white couches with 3 boys and a girl on the way. Talk to you later.
That is such a I'm imagining. I think probably Alex and I are ballpark same age because of the time when a white leather couch would have been a thing in someone's home, and that is such a 90s grandma thing to do. 90s, I remember my dad's parents would send us we didn't see them ever. I had only met them a handful of times. They lived in California, which wasn't that far from where we were from, but we were too poor for an airplane. So we just didn't see them. But they would send us stuff. And they would send us the oddest gifts because we didn't know them at all. And they would send my parents, I remember they would send my mom things that she was just I have zero need for these. I remember sometimes they'd send my mom cosmetics. And I have only ever seen my mom, or I had only.
Such a personal thing to buy.
Yeah. And I had only ever seen my mom wearing mascara a single time. And it was when she had jury duty. That was the only time. And so I that explains so much. Like, that is, I get it now. The whole thing makes sense.
We should talk about gifts, though, because there's something else. I mean, that is such mascara, or I'm sorry, any kind of cosmetics is a crazily personal thing to get for somebody, even if they wear makeup a lot. Like, to know what their personal routine is interesting. But then there's also the other end of a gift, like this one that Alex's family got, which is, it's so huge, you're really imposing your will on the gift receiver in this way. Like, Vives and I will talk a lot about that. Like, I think especially with maybe wedding, maybe a wedding has a registry, so if somebody has something on it, it's easier to know that they definitely want it.
Yeah.
But like, we think about wall hangings a lot. Like, sometimes it's nice, hey, should we take this poster that we really like, or piece of art, and get it framed and give it to somebody as a gift? And that can be a very thoughtful thing. But it also is kind of saying, like, we're assuming that you have or will make space on your wall for this,
right,
and that it fits whatever taste you have. And like, I just think that's a pretty big swing to take. And then couches are like a wall hanging times 100.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the whole like anchor of your living room.
Yeah.
And it's also like, I mean, like, a couch is a really big gift. I mean, physically, but also like financially. Like, it's pretty, But also, yeah, I mean, if you have a white couch, everything else in the room has to go with it. The exception is apparently when Alex took the couch to the frat house.
Right.
I don't think it took 4 years for that couch to be all the way wrecked.
No. That couch, I have not spent a lot of time in frat houses. Although when I was a freshman, I believe I entered a few. And I don't like to think about frat house couches. The second he said I took it to my frat house, I was like, I don't want to think about that. Couch has seen some things. Well,
also, when my first thought when he said, like, oh, I took it to college with me, I was like, oh, you were the dude with the white leather couch. Like, you'd like go over to someone's house, they'd be like, oh, come over and, like, whatever the thing was at the time, watch a DVD, and then you get over and you'd be like, how does this college student have a white leather couch? Also, really sounds like his mom wanted a reason to unload it, by the way. If she sent that couch away to college, it's because she was like,
oh, Alex's mom, not his grandma.
No,
yeah.
Mom was probably like, okay, well, we did our time with this white leather couch. Like, it's time for something new.
That's really interesting, yeah. And I would say, I mean, maybe this just sounds obvious. And again, I listen, the last thing I want to do on a public podcast is go after Alex's grandma. But, like, I could see somebody saying, hey, listen, my adult kids need a new couch. Like, it's in really bad shape. Maybe the old couch is even a topic of conversation in the family. Like, this old couch, we need a new one. It's such a thoughtful thing to say, I'm going to replace that couch with a new one. That is like you said, financially big gift. Can be very appreciated. But you have to sit down with the family and say, hey, I'd like to do something for you. You're my kids, want to get you that new couch you've been talking about, but let's go shopping together. Or what are you interested in? Like, let's do this. The part of the gift will be, I'm taking you couch shopping, not I've chosen a couch or two for you.
Right. Circle some couches in the Sears catalog that fit your taste, and I will buy one for you.
Yeah, but it sounds like this is a surplus situation.
Lead gifting. Also, yeah, the idea of the Sears outlet. Can you picture a Sears outlet?
No.
It's like barely a step above a Big Lots. I mean, we bought everything at outlets all the time, but I
bet you could get some great tools, though. Back in the day, Sears had great tools.
That was kind of their whole deal for a long
Craftsman.
time.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
All right.
Sears.
Anyway, Alex, really appreciated that follow-up. Now, let's get into what I started to say before, but then Hannah wouldn't let me edit out of the tape, which is more roadside finds. This is what I was starting to set up before. After we did our show on fun and cool things people found along the side of the road, we got a couple more voicemails on this topic, including this one. I set this up for you on the last show we did, Hannah, and it's been a while since I've been so excited to play a voicemail for you, to be honest with you. I think you're going to absolutely delight in this, because when we talk about things that you sort of acquire, and this topic got a little bit bigger. It's not just along the side of the road while you're driving and you stop and you pick it up. It's like some of them are free things that you found on Craigslist or Free Cycle or something like that. And usually we're thinking, I don't know, these shelves, or maybe even this armchair, or in our case, in our home, the velvet Lionel Richie portrait that Genevieve found by the side of the road that we've now had for about 20 years. And she's often said, after me and the cats, it's the first thing she saves in a house fire. But Emily is going a totally different direction with her free find.
Hey, Hannah and Andrew. This is Emily in Atlanta, listener number 28. I might be a little late to the party on this one, but I want to tell you my favorite free thing on the side of the road story. So in my neighborhood, the Buy Nothing group on Facebook is pretty epic. It's very creative. There are some very ambitious people. It's great. There's a woman that posts on there and gets stuff on there a lot because she's very active in helping out our local unhoused folks. And she posted several years back, she asked, does anybody want a full-ass wedding cake? And I was bored, and so I figured, why the hell not? And so I asked her about it. I was like, why do you have a wedding cake? And something was mentioned about maybe they were filming an episode of something. It's Atlanta. There's filming stuff all the time.
Okay, sure.
It turns out that we can't actually, connect in person for this free cake. So she's like, hey, I'm going to leave it in my car, and my car is at blah, blah, blah address, and it's just parked on the street. Go with God. And so at 11 o'clock at night, which is the only time I could do this, I pull up into this neighborhood. It's dark. It's sketch. There's a lot of people, on their porches being suspicious. And I just pull up to this car on the street, and I'm like, okay. And so I open it up, and there's a giant-ass wedding cake in there. It has been smushed a little bit by the seatbelt, but who cares?
By the seatbelt!
And so I pick up this box, and I do everything very slowly and very, friendly and casually so that people are, I don't know. They wouldn't have cared if I was stealing something anyway. But I get this cake, and it turns out to be the best thing I've ever eaten. I brought it to all kinds of parties because, again, full-ass wedding cake, and that is too big for one person to eat. And so I brought it everywhere, and everyone thought I was insane, but then they loved the cake. So, I got a free cake on the side of the road. Thanks. Have a great one.
That's a little bit hard to top, man. That's a little bit hard to top.
I love that it then became your, emotional support cake that you, brought to parties.
Like Homer with the sandwich that he wouldn't throw away.
Yeah, because you can't. You're you have to just keep cutting parts off. I'm sure you're doorbell ditching your neighbors. Here's some cake. I love the idea. Yeah, I never thought about that, though. It's true. Somebody's always filming something in Atlanta. And so I bet that there are a lot of cast-offs from shoots.
That could have been a reality thing, right?
Yeah. Or, because I feel like if you were doing a cake scene where no one would have to eat it, you might just make it out of styrofoam or something. Mm-hmm.
That's true. It could be totally fake if it's just in the background, but they needed a real cake for some reason.
That is incredible. I also love the idea of putting it in a seatbelt somehow.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much. I also love that nobody.
You've done that before, though, right? You've put things in seatbelts because you're just I got to get this thing home. You got to put a seatbelt. Yeah,
it's usually
exactly.
Plants get buckled in.
Yeah.
Or larger purchases. But I don't really know how you do it with a cake.
Plus, the car's going to beep at you the whole time if you don't.
Right.
If it's heavy enough, it's going to think that there's something in
there's
that
something
seat.
in the back. I know we get that sometimes when Lola's in the back of the car. Keith's car will beep and be like, oh, you forgot something in the back? Or no, we're very aware of her.
Yeah.
Hard not to be aware. I love that so much, and that's not something I've ever heard. I also love the creativity with which people do drop-offs of things, because I have also done this when I lived in Seattle with the my local buy and sell, or free stuff group. When I moved out of my house, I just left my apartment unlocked. There was nothing else in it but the bed that someone said she was going to come pick up. And I was like, I live on the 10th floor. I no longer live there. There is literally nothing else in that apartment. I'm going to leave it unlocked. You can come get it.
I would feel so creepy going into that situation, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, she sent me a photo to let me know when she had got it. She texted me, and I remember being like, oh, that's very weird. But I my lease was, I think it literally was the day my lease was up. It was up at midnight, and I was like, you have to come get it tonight.
Do you know that just thinking about going into a stranger's empty apartment when nobody is there makes me have to go to the bathroom? You're thinking about
anxious. See, I would be like, oh,
it's not. Yeah. I have a thing. We're going to get really personal here, Hannah. There is not an official diagnosis of this, although whenever I bring this up in a podcast or something, people send me, there's a Japanese word for it, and it's considered a phenomenon that has not actually been kind of studied. I guess science has its own priorities right now, and this isn't a top one, but there are people like me that certain situations make them have to go number two, and a big one is a bookstore for me, and that is the one, that's specifically the term, I don't know what it is, but having to go number two when you're around a bunch of books, and there's my whole life going into a bookstore makes things move for me, and there's a word for that. And the other thing that, and I'm the only one that I know of that it also applies to. It's basically the same phenomenon, but if I'm like kind of sneaking around, like if I'm playing hide and go seek, which I haven't played in a long time, you'll be surprised to hear. But like I remember being a little kid and like playing hide and go seek, and if you're like hiding somewhere, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Like any kind of sneaking around, and the idea of going into an empty apartment without like any kind of a property manager or another person there or whatever, and just being like, I'm going into a place that was just emptied out on the 10th floor of this building, and there's nothing in here but like an old bed frame. I may have to stop this podcast right now just thinking about that.
This is such an unusual. What constitutes sneakiness, or like what are the bounds of sneakiness?
The bowels, no, I don't know, man. I mean, that's kind of but like that, it's like sort of I'm in this weird place where I'm not supposed to be, or my body feels like what constitutes sneakiness is a really good question. But that's why I sort of use that weird antiquated like hide and go seek example, because it'd be like, I'm not actually doing anything wrong. I'm playing a game with my friends with this idea of sort of sneaking around.
This is fascinating to me. It's got to be something about like cortisol or something, or some sort of like adrenaline thing that just tickles the guts.
I have been following this for years now because it comes up on the show from time to time, and very few people can relate to it.
Is there new research?
Well, I'll just say that people used to send me this Wikipedia. I don't even think this was on Wikipedia for a while. It's called the Mariko Aoki Phenomenon, and I will just say this Wikipedia page is getting longer and longer and longer, so people are dedicating time to this topic. I will read to you the top line of this. The Mariko Aoki Phenomenon is a Japanese expression referring to the sudden urge to defecate that is felt upon entering bookstores. It's named after a woman who described the effect in a magazine article published in 1985.
Huh.
It's a thing. And I'm telling you, this used to be a stub. This used to be such, let's see here, hypotheses, possible theories, the smell of paper or ink having a laxative effect. I don't think that's it. The association with reading in the toilet or on the toilet at home, and the posture of browsing making bowel movement easier. None of those make sense to me, though. I don't know what it is.
There's a Men's Health article from 2021. A doctor explains book bowels.
There you go. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect the show to go here today.
We're all over the place.
We really are. Okay, let me get back on our groove here. I have another voicemail to play for you. This is from listener Bridget, who also has a story about finding free treasure.
Hi, it's Bridget calling from Central Mass, caller number 1,000,000.
Nice.
About your hit segment, Free Stuff I Found on the Side of the Road. My story is when I was a child in the late 80s and early 90s, I lived in Japan just before the economic bubble burst there. And my very thrifty parents noticed a ton of amazing stuff out on trash days. The culture of sharing and giving is different there, as is recycling and trash pickup. But in that era especially, we would find functional TVs, guitars, full sets of dishes, stereo systems, furniture, traditional doll sets, all in like near perfect condition. So it became a regular part of our week for my parents to load me and my two siblings up in our tiny van and drive around going gomi hunting. Gomi is Japanese for trash. One of the things we found was a Zoji Rushi rice cooker, and it became our main rice cooker. And like as kids, one of our favorite meals was rice with hot dogs cut up into it. That rice cooker came with us to 3 different continents, 5 different countries, and now lives with me and my little family. It is nearly 40 years old, and while it got a little dinged up in one of our moves, it makes perfect rice every time, which is at least once a week. Bye.
And Bridget sent in a photo of this 40-year-old rice maker, I should say. I think I sent it to you, Hannah, if you want to share it on social media or anything. But I cannot believe this thing is still kicking.
Man, they literally do not make them like they used to, huh?
No, they don't. No, they do not.
I love that. I love the. I just looked. I looked to see who else might be interested in this kind of thing, and all the way back in 1987, the year this guy was minted, there was a LA Times article about scavenging for gomi.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd never heard of that before. I'd never heard that phrase before.
Nope, me either. There's quite a bit of sort of scholarship around it.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to have it be kind of a cultural, I don't know, like activity almost.
Oh, it just made sense to me. So in like the, I don't know, pre-pandemic times, but not that much before, I remember we had a little speaker, like a shower speaker, and that it was made out of, and it was advertised to me as being made out of recycled plastic, and the name of the company was Gomi. And
interesting.
That makes sense.
That is really interesting.
Yes.
I have one more little message to share with you here, and it is an email that I will read from our friend Stephanie in Brooklyn. Now, it's also related to this idea of like kind of fun, free finds. In fact, it reminds me a little bit of Emily's story and the idea that this cake that she nabbed in the middle of the night, it might have been related to like a set for some sort of film shoot or TV shoot or something like that. I had been mentioning on the show that when Genevieve and I were first dating in the very early 2000s, she had a big like kind of like body pillow thing on her bed, and it wasn't until we'd been dating for quite some time that I realized she had found it. It was not hers to buy new originally. Like she found it on something she called Dirty Christmas at Wellesley College when all the rich girls would go home for the holidays and they would just dump all of their belongings in a pile or outside their dorm
So
rooms.
many Birkenstocks.
So
many
Birkenstocks in the 90s especially. And I was kind of turned off by that. I'm like, oh, this thing that I've been like putting my head on and like snuggling with or whatever. It's like, I don't know the origins of this pillow. Well, Stephanie says nay. Stephanie says on the show, Andrew said you wouldn't nab a free pillow by the side of the road. Well, my greatest ever Craigslist sale was pillows. They were listing our co-op apartment, and our real estate agent walked us through each room and told us what to do so the place would be ready to show. Put certain things away somewhere, get rid of clutter everywhere, and get 4 big fluffy hotel-type pillows for the bed. Done and done. After the place sold, I didn't want to keep these giant marshmallow pillows, so I did a Craigslist ad and explained that they'd only been used for staging, not sleeping. They sold for $30. The buyer was a real estate agent who was also going to use them for staging. My best Craigslist sale ever. That is, again, like, there are these economies where somebody buys something for a very temporary need, like staging a home or a condo, and these pillows have never been touched, and now somebody else can buy it for the same purpose.
When we were looking at houses, I remember having a conversation with Keith about what you did if your like staging bedding got grimy, like if someone touched it or sat on it, or if it got yucky in the moving. Like, whose job is it to service and clean the staging items?
Yep.
And this makes me feel like it is perhaps like whoever has them, and that's part of the job of staging. I don't know anything about how one gets into the job of being a stager. Do you have just a storage unit full of objects? Like, are you just the keeper of? It just seems like it's a lot of crap you'd have to have. But this makes sense too, that like you're going through them quickly. You're like, okay, I'm done with these pillows. Somebody else can use them. Yeah. I'm very interested in the like stager economy. So if we have any listeners who have insight into that, I'm curious.
And also, I think about this a lot even before Emily's voicemail, but like it's very similar to the thoughts I have about the prop
Right.
make, maybe not prop maker, but like on a set, a movie or something like that. Obviously, the prop department that is such a creative space. Like I think of people, maybe you, certainly Genevieve. I feel like Genevieve would be like the perfect sort of like prop person, right? Like going to thrift stores looking for something that is going to be kind of like era appropriate for something, but in a good shape, that also speaks to like whatever the literal character of the people in the movie is or whatever.
Yes.
And like kind of, I don't think I'd be good at that, but I always think about that as an absolutely fascinating job that for the right person, it just must be so fulfilling.
Yeah. And I think especially if you land on, the exact right object or the exact right thing. I think also if you find something that maybe you didn't expect people to really love. Because I think, again, about staging, like we would go through homes and like the staging is so that you can sort of like imagine, your stuff in it sort of as a stand-in for your stuff. And also it helps the place look nicer. But every now and then there would be like a piece of like very clearly like stage art, but that was unique. Like it wasn't just because you would walk through and you'd see stuff, you'd be like, oh, this is literally just from Target 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. But every
Whatever
now and then
picture came in the frame.
Yeah. But every now and then you could tell that the stager just had really good taste. And it was and you knew it was definitely staged because the house is all locked up. It's got like the deadbolt on it. No one's living in there. This is not anybody's belongings. You know the difference. But I remember that one place that was staged had this like exquisite lamp that I was like, can I, like, if we don't buy the house, can I still reach out to whoever did the staging and like buy that lamp from them? Like, like, can I treat a staged home like an estate sale?
Right.
Because sometimes they have really cool stuff and like they have really great taste, and that's, I think, what makes for a really good stager. And I wonder too if being super resourceful by like buying stuff on Craigslist also probably goes a long way because you're saving money.
Yeah. I could see it being super fun because I think that people like Genevieve too, like have just like an impulse to buy, even if there isn't a place for it.
Right.
That sounds like a dig. I don't mean it that way, but I just think that there's something fulfilling in the process of the hunt, of the finding of these things. And so being able to find it but not having to say, where am I going to find a place in my own home or my own life for this?
Right. When you have to furnish an entire other house. And it doesn't have to necessarily be functional, right? You can have side of the road pillows. They don't have to be pillows you'd actually want to put your face on.
Yep. Exactly.
Also, I love the description of marshmallow pillows. That's really funny.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. All right. Let's, if you'll allow it, leave it there for the day.
And of course, you can wash pillows. Let's be honest. Like, you can not down pillows, but if you have like artificial, what other kinds of fill, like you can wash them.
Yeah, depending on the pillow. Not a body pillow.
No, that I think you'd have to take to a dry cleaner.
Yeah, I think you would.
Can you imagine the absolute mortification of bringing your body pillow to a dry cleaner? So my girlfriend found this somewhere, and I'd really like to cuddle up with it at night, but I don't know where it's been. Can you just like sanitize it?
This is such a bad place to bring this up. Actually, maybe it's not because it's the end of the show, but were you you were a pretty loyal 30 Rock watcher, right?
Yeah.
And do you remember the episode with James Franco where
he's in love with the body pillow?
With the pillow.
How do we think that body pillow got washed?
It's totally normal. Neither do I, Liz. Pillows are not humans, Liz.
Pillows are objects. They are not for love.
He does such a good job on that.
I know how that sort of body pillow gets washed, and it's that it just goes into the shower with the person.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's leave it on that highly weird note right there. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Those were wonderful stories. Please send in more. We love to hear your stories. You can continue the trends of talking about roadside finds, free finds, terrible, terrible messes, or let us know how you keep your house smelling nice, whether or not you use these air fresheners that Hannah and I were talking about. Anything you want to talk about, call the Spotline, and we will talk to you in a couple of weeks after I turn on the phone that plays the ending sound. I am just doing such a good job of hosting and engineering today.
He's bebopping and scatting today.
I had to buy myself a few more seconds because this guy was getting ready to tell you how to get a hold of us.
You've been listening to the Spotless Podcast. If you have a question for Hannah and Andrew or some cleaning advice, call the Spotline at 508-HOW-WASH. That's 508-469-9274. You can also email them at spotlesspod@gmail.com. We'll be back soon. But until then, always remember, life is messy, but it doesn't have to be.